Okay, so I'm James. I'm one of the tech champions at the Digital Culture Network. I'm a white man with brown hair, and I'm wearing a purple jumper today. Um, on the chat that we're going to have, and at the Q&A at the end, we've got Adam, who's on screen as well.
Hello, I'm Adam. I'm a tech champion at the DCM for CRM and ticketing. I've got red hair, I'm a white man, and I'm wearing a hot pink shirt.
It's a very nice shirt. So you'll notice that they are unintentionally DCN colors. So if only we had a green, we'd have the full set. So Adam will join us at the Q&A at the end of the session. So today's webinar is all about marketing pixels. So I'm going to talk to you through about all that. So we'll talk about what marketing pixels are and how they work. There's a lot of storybook metaphors in this. You'll notice that as we go through, we had a few questions actually at the beginning. It's like, why is it? Why is it storybook? And it's just a way to anchor some of the learnings that we'll have today, and it's fun. Um, so we'll also be looking at how to use pixels to track your audience behavior and retarget your visitors. We're going to look at some step-by-step guidance about how you might set that up on your own website. And then we're going to talk about the ethical and GDPR compliant use of tracking tools as well. So just before we get stuck in, just going to go through our housekeeping slide. So today's webinar is an hour, so it should be running up to 1 o'clock. So hopefully you're enjoying your lunch at the moment, potentially, while watching us here. If you need to use closed captions, click the CC button, and then they're available for you there. We've got Joanne doing the captions today. We also have British Sign Language interpreters. So Claire and Naomi will be switching between themselves as we go through today's session. There will be a recording of this session. You're going to see it on our website. It'll be available within the next 7 days. If you do want to ask any questions as we go through, use the Q&A function. So you can start doing that now, and then when we get to the end, we'll look at the questions and answers, and then hopefully Adam will come back on screen and help me work through all of those as well. But do say hello in the chat. It'd be really nice to see who's here, where you're from. I can see loads of people are writing in it already. It's really nice to see everyone. I've got a question for you before we jump in. If you've been to one of our webinars before, give us a thumbs up. If this is your first webinar, give us a little heart symbol instead. I think there's a heart one. Yeah, there we go. Oh, look at all these people coming back. Oh, newbies. There we go. All the heart symbols for the newbies. So it's really lovely to see all those coming through. If you do find these things distracting, there's little options at the bottom. You can click the little arrow and then you can stop these appearing because some people find that a bit too much while trying to concentrate. Okay, let's get going. So today's agenda, we've got 6 different areas. The first one is what is digital tracking? We're then going to look at some examples in action. Why is it useful in this day and age? How to get started, the importance of consent, and then we'll get to the Q&A at the end. What we're going to have at all these sections as well is I'm going to put in this little slider so you know where you are as we're going through. So it'll get to the end by the end of it. If you do want to get support from us, and I can see that some of you, this is your first webinar. You might not have had support from the Tech Champions as well. You can. If you're in England working in the creative and cultural sector, you can get free support from us. It's not going to cost you anything at all, even after you've had many sessions with us. We've got a team of Tech Champions waiting to help you. So please do go to our website, click on the button which says get in touch, and you'll get this form. So just fill that out. And then you'll be able to book a one-to-one session with one of us. And if you need any support in anything that we're going to talk through today, please do get in touch because I'll be able to help you. Because some of this can get quite technical based on what systems you're using, what you're trying to achieve, and it can be quite daunting. But I'm here to help, so please do get in touch. So I'm going to start off with a poll, and this is about a question I get asked quite a lot because you might be having a conversation with one of your friends or family members, and then suddenly you start seeing adverts for the thing you were talking about. So my question to you is, does your phone show you adverts based on your conversations? So is your phone listening in to everything you're saying? Now, we do have things like Hey Google, and then you can ask a question, or Alexa, you can ask a question. I'm not talking about those bits. I'm talking about just generally, is it listening in to what you're doing? And then is it serving you adverts based on what it's doing? It's a good question. Okay. So I'm just going to let that run for a moment, and then we're going to share the results from that. Okay, I'm going to stop the poll there. And then if we just share the results, Adam, so yeah, perfect. So 75% of you are saying, yes, my phone is listening to me and serving me ads based on what I'm seeing. And 25% are saying, no, it's not true. So what we're going to do now is dig into the reasons why we think this and maybe get to the answer of some of those things as well. So in this picture, we've got someone listening, a small girl listening at a door. That's what maybe your phone's doing that. Maybe not. We're going to find out. Okay, next to the next section I'm going to talk about here is actually marketing pixels. So, and that's what the point of the webinar is. So hopefully we'll get into this in much more detail. But there are quite a few different marketing pixels, and you can see here, this is where the fairy tales will start to come in, is that we have Hansel and Gretel. For some reason, Gretel is riding across a lake on a swan. But it's a metaphor for how marketing pixels can deliver useful information about your data, useful data about your users to you. So imagine a pixel is the swan floating across the lake, giving you the data that you need. And marketing pixels can be very, very different things. There are quite a few different ones available. You might have some already installed on your website and being used for any marketing that you're doing. But essentially, they are a little block of script that runs on your website and it passes information from your website about your users to a certain platform. So there are a few different ones that do different things. There are analytics ones, and they could be things like sending data to Google Analytics, so you can track website users through your website. We have retargeting ones, so that could be a meta pixel or a TikTok pixel, for example. So it's understanding information about the users that are coming to your website and then serving adverts based on what they've done on your site. And then we also have conversion ones as well. So that's when an objective has been completed. And as cultural organizations, we have many objectives that we want our users to complete, and it's not always purchases. So it's not always about ticket sales or buying something in a shop. We have such a wide offer that it can be many different things, and it's possible to set up tracking for each of those objectives. So don't feel like you have to have a ticketing system or a shop to make use of pixels. You can set up conversions for different objectives that you want to achieve. And as I said before, if you need help defining what those conversion objectives are for you and how to use pixels, do book in a one-to-one with me, and I'll help you through that whole process. So what I'm going to do now is talk about the process of how that data works. And I'm going to use the TikTok pixel as an example. So if someone's on TikTok and they're served an ad with a link and someone clicks on that ad, it will send that person on their device, so if they're looking on their phone, for example, through to a website. That website will have a pixel installed on it in this example. And what happens is that pixel, so that bit of code that's on the website, is sending data back to TikTok. So if someone's clicked the ad, they've gone to the website, it's sending data back to the TikTok server. So it's information that's held about that user. So that's just routing that information back to the TikTok server. As the person moves through the website, different actions are completed. So it could be what pages they've visited. It could be what things they've clicked on. Have they added something to a cart, for example? Have they looked at certain products? Have they taken action such as filled out a form? So all of those different micro interactions that a user could take on your website are then passed back to TikTok to build up an audience profile of what actions they're taking. So these are called event rules. So an event is an action. And that, as I say, it could be things like watching a video on your website. And it's all of what you want your users to do. So what is the objective that you're trying to get people to achieve? And in this example, it has a purchase event. So that's the end objective that this pixel is being used for, is that all of this information is being tracked at different stages. And we want to capture that information to pass it back to TikTok to better serve other ads to other people or the same ads to the same person. And this is where the attribution comes in. So all of that information is being collected against a specific user ID, so it can match it against the TikTok user it has, because this is all encrypted data that we can't actually see. So it's not actual names, but it would be a user identified ID that is passed back to TikTok, and then it can track that user over time. So this is why, as you're moving around the websites, you might see ads for the same things. So you might have looked at a certain product on a website or been interested in a certain organization. These pixels are targeting you as a user and then passing that information back to the ad platform for it to then serve these ads to you. This picture is of a princess on a horse walking through a forest. And again, just trying to bring this metaphor in, is that a forest is a whole network of organic life. We have the mycelium network, which is the fungal network. I'm not sure if everybody knows all about that, but it's fascinating if you do look into it. But it creates a network to enable plants and trees and things like that to talk to each other, which is it's mind-boggling when you get into that. But that exists already, of all this data that's been passed in an organic form between each tree, each plant, about things that are changing, dangers, risks, all that kind of stuff. So if we were this princess on our horse and we were walking through a forest, we would be visiting different trees, different maybe little different towns and villages, and as we're going through, and that's how we move through online. So we are using our phones for a lot of our digital experiences. We are going to different websites, and all of that is being tracked by pixels, by the advertising companies, to build a profile of who we are and how we act in different sections of the online space. And we can use that as marketers to target the right people. So that's where it becomes really efficient. In this picture, we have Hansel, and he's dropping his little breadcrumbs as he walks through the forest. It looks very cheeky with his rosy cheeks here. But what we're talking about here is about the digital footprints that we have as users. So as we move through the forest online and we are being tracked in this different way, we are leaving a breadcrumb of who we are and the actions we take. And there are different things that different categories of those interactions. So some of them are active. So they could be your social interactions. So what things that you are liking and sharing and commenting on, those are things that you are actively doing. It could be the forms that you fill out on certain website. You could be leaving reviews, and there are loads and more of those types of things that you might be doing as a user, and we're going through. Oh, thanks, Kelly. Really good analogies, yeah. And there are passive ones as well. So as a user, you have locations or like the history of stuff that you're doing. And one really important one is cookies as well. So we're going to go deeper into what cookies are and how that all works later on, and especially with compliance. But essentially, that's a piece of information that's stored on your device. So again, relating back to the breadcrumbs, about you as a user. And when you move through different websites, that cookie is used to pass information to different platforms, and then you're identified as a user without having to log into a certain system or anything like that. Okay. So I've got another question for you, and I'd like to put some answers in the chat. That this picture is about the Princess and the Pea. And the Princess's Pea is about a young lady who is very, very fussy about pure softness and comfort. And she buys many, many, many mattresses and wants the ultimate comfort. And someone puts a pea at the bottom and she can still feel it because she is Yes, it's a bit of a madam, isn't she? The princess. So the princess could be, if we were in her household, looking at a lot of mattresses online. So she could be going to different mattresses, buying things online, always trying to find the best comfort. Now, if we were staying at her house for a while, the question is, why would you see similar ads to the princess? Why would you, as a user, see mattress adverts on your device, even though you've not bought one? Let's put some answers in the chat. Okay, yeah, I've got some. Yeah, same Wi-Fi. Yeah, same location. Good. Yeah, IP address. Yeah, yeah. Proximity to others. Yeah, yeah. And connections with the P lady. Yeah, yeah. That's it. Nice. You're doing very well, everybody. Yes, based on user interactions, great. Complaining about bad matches on Facebook, says Jane. Yes, so again, it's all about that profiling. So there are a few different things, and this all links into what we were talking about earlier on about your phone listening into you, because there are certain things that are happening in the digital sphere. Firstly, devices connected to the same network. So a lot of you put IP addresses in there. So that is a great identifier about you as a user and where you're located. So because you're on the same network and the princess has looked at mattresses, on a simplistic in a simplistic term, the advertisers are just sending more ads to that IP address, which is the Wi-Fi network. It's not trying to identify a device, so it's just pumping more ads into the IP address, which is absolutely right. So that's why you're seeing it because you're on the same network. The second one is physical proximity. So because you are in the same place, it's going to be doing that as well. So it's using the global positioning system, very intelligent using all this information to find the coordinates of who's near this person and then serving ads in a group there. Other things could be shared accounts. So if you were logged on and maybe the princess was very kind, give you the login details for their Disney Plus or Netflix subscription, because you're both subscribed, both logged into the same account, it's then going to serve you ads on that as well. There is something within the algorithm which does interest overlap. So because you are friends on Facebook or whatever platform you're on, it's going to assume that you have similar interest in certain things. So because the princess is really interested in um, mattresses and looking at them all the time, there's an assumption that you might be interested as well. Or you'd be like, stop talking about mattresses, please. And the final one is around the influencer effect. So I imagine the princess in this day and age would be probably in this it would be talking about mattresses quite a lot, and a lot of Instagram stories would be mattress based about comfort, and it's she would be broadcasting about mattresses all the time. So again, it's that because she's posting about it, it's they're going to link into you as a friend or a family member, and it's going to link all that together. So linking this stuff, all of these elements of it together, means that your phone is potentially not listening to you. They've done trials on this kind of stuff, so they've seen that no data is being sent. It changes all the time though, so who knows what's happening right now. But the answer is currently no. It's not actively going, this is what you're saying, and we're going to then serve you ads. What it's doing instead is actually putting all of this stuff together to build a profile of you as a user and then pump ads your way. And it feels like the phone is listening. There is something else around probabilistic matching. So it's assuming that something is the right person, the right thing to send data to and adverts. And in this example, we have the three bears. So if we know the three bears story, they're out for the day, they've left their home, and Goldilocks rocks up and she goes and wants to eat some food. She doesn't like the hot porridge, she doesn't like the cold porridge, she likes the warm porridge, so she scoffs that. She sits on certain chairs, doesn't like them, she breaks one, and then she goes and gets in bed. Doesn't like the hard mattress, doesn't like the soft one. likes the one in the middle. So with that, those anonymous bits of data, and even though we found Goldilocks in the bed at the end, so we know it's her, um, as she disappears, if she wasn't there and the bears came home, they could use probabilistic matching to see and identify who it was. So we could say and look at this information and go, does it like warm porridge? This person likes warm porridge. Okay, so they like, we'll categorize them in that way. They like small chairs as well, because she broke that one. And like medium hardness mattress. So these things can combine together for you then to build, for the advertisers to build understanding about the users it's trying to reach. So in this case, I've just made up this number, but it's 85% probability that it is Goldilocks in that case. So all of as I say, all of these things together are combining and pulling it together. So your phone does listen in some ways, especially if you're actively asking it. It's then going to give you results, but it's not just baseline listening and then serving you ads on what it thinks you want. Okay, so we're going to move on now into section 2, talk about examples in action. So I've just picked 2 organizations. There are loads out there doing this kind of stuff, but I just wanted to show you as a quick example because I've seen these and I've seen how they work. So the first one is the British Museum. And I wanted to just to show you how retargeting works. So using pixels, the British Museum are able to identify users that have come to the website, have looked at specific things, and then might serve ads on the basis of that. So I found this from just being a user, and I was looking at something the British Museum were doing, and then I started to get ads. So I'm just going to show you what I saw. So I went to the website. This is a screenshot of the British Museum website. And I was just looking at 3 different pages. And then later that evening, I was on Facebook, I think. And then I got an advert. So we can see here that it's a sponsored result. And it's all about unraveling 1,000 years of myth and reality at the British Museum, and a review, 5-star review from The Guardian. So it's trying to push me to come to their exhibition that they've got on at the moment up until the 4th of May. So that was on Facebook. So they are completely independent. I've not clicked a link in Facebook to the museum. I've just gone to the museum website and then I'm getting served ads on Facebook. I also went on Instagram. In my stories was this one. So another advert from the British Museum. So what the British Museum is using is a metapixel. So Meta works across Instagram and Facebook, and I suppose WhatsApp now as well. We're eventually going to get to that, because Meta owns all 3 of them. So if you've got a metapixel, you can then target your audiences on both platforms in one place. So you're collecting data into one pool of information, and then you can start advertising to those people. Another example is Poker Theatre that I've worked with over the last year, and I was on their website, and they have a specific page on their site for theatre. They're a theatre, but they've got a hire-us page, and this is all about what venue hire options they've got. And an advert that was served to me was this one around venue hire at Poker Theatre. So again, really targeted approach to marketing in this way. So instead of just casting your advertising net really, really wide and just trying to do generic adverts to everybody, what we're able to do using pixels is be very specific. So we can say these people have visited this specific page. I'm going to serve them this specific ad because I'm trying to move them onto the next stage. So I already know that they're interested in this in a certain way. I'm now going to serve an ad specifically for their needs. So if you're unsure about what's happening on your website or other websites that you're interested in, there are ways to find out what pixels are already being loaded. So the first one is the Google Tag Assistant. Adam's put a link in the chat, so if you want to add that, you can add it to your Chrome browser. And it allows you to see what's going on. So again, if I visit the British Museum website, I can click the button for the Google Tag Assistant extension. And what that does is present a list of all the different tags that are firing. So all the different Google related tags. And we'll see there's a few different ones in here. So they've all got different names and different IDs. So these are sending data to different properties and accounts. The ones beginning with AW are for Google Ads. So that's all about conversions. So the end objective that you want people to do, and it's going to pass that information back to Google Ads. So that's where that data goes. For then, when you're setting up your Google Ads, you can set that as an objective. So we want to reach new people that are going to achieve the same thing as all these people that have done it. So we're collecting information about current users to then improve our advertising to make it much more efficient. The ones beginning with DC, they are for DoubleClick or the Floodlight ad network. So that is ads that you might see across many, many different places because it's got a whole network of ads that are run through Google. So the DC ones are sending data to that. And the ones with G are Google Analytics. So a lot of organizations I speak to, or artists or individuals that have websites, many of you have Google Analytics installed, and that's what the G tag is. And what we're seeing from Google is that they're trying to consolidate all of this into one tag. So ideally, instead of having to have multiple tags doing different things, they want one tag which you configure and send data to one place. So they're trying to bring it all into one area. So as we move over the next few years, I think from our current place, I think we're going to see a consolidation of some of that into one place. But at the moment, you will see this multiple things firing. And what the British Museum will have set up is tracking of some of these tags on every page as you move through the website. And that's passing information about what the URL is, and then they can target people based on what page they visited. It's also tracking the end objectives. So when people make a purchase or book a ticket to exhibition, it's then going to pass that data as well to inform the marketing and make that more efficient. So the other one we have is for the metapixel helper. So much like the same thing, we can see what is being loaded on any of these pages. And if we've got time, I'll ask you in a bit. We might have to go to look at some of your websites, but we'll see how we get up for time. So we might come back to this. So what this metapixel helper does is the same thing as the Google one. It's telling us where the data is going. So that's what the pixel ID is, but also what actions are being tracked. So different page views, people clicking on links, people filling out forms. That data is all being tracked and sent back to Meta to build up a profile of that. If you want to see what other organizations are doing when it comes to adverts, there's a couple of ways that you can do that as well. So, the other way. There is the Google Ads Transparency Center. So Adam's going to pop the link in the chat as well. So if you want to look at that. So in there, once you click the link, you can search for different organizations. So it will show you their Google Ads profile and you can see what ads they're running. So it's really helpful to understand what else people are doing. And you can look at different sectors. It doesn't just have to be arts and culture. You can have a look at anything in there. It's quite interesting. The same goes for Meta as well. So you can look at what Meta ads are ran at different places. So as I say, I might come back to that. We'll have a look at stuff if we've got time, but I just want to move on to why pixels are useful for our sector. So here we've got a picture of Robin Hood. He's firing his arrow, hitting the target. And that is the number one benefit of using these marketing pixels is that you can be much more targeted and much more efficient with the adverts that you're running. And you might have the pixels for Google Analytics, so it's sending data to Google Analytics. That's not doing any advertising or anything like that. That's just collecting information about your users and how they move through your website and the actions they take. But if you want to do advertising, this is where it comes in. Using marketing pixels really helps with that targeting because you can say these people have visited this page, they've looked at these things. We're now going to advertise and be specific to the adverts that we're sending instead of doing a broadcast advert to everybody. It's really good at understanding user behavior. So what actions do people take at different stages? And can we build a profile of what that looks like normally? And it's really, really good for reaching new audiences. So this is where lookalike audiences come in. And if you've got all this data that's going into your pixel database of these users about people that have done an action, so they completed one thing on your website, the one thing that you want people to do, what you can do is use that data to find new users across the internet on these platforms that potentially would be a good match and they would do the same thing, but they just don't know about you yet. So lookalike audience advertising is a great way to find new people that have never heard of you before and try to get them, introduce them to who you are and what you offer, and then take them on that journey to hopefully convert them just like the people that have done it. And the last thing is about you can do a lot of testing with this stuff. So you can trial and see if it works. If it doesn't work, you can stop doing it. So it's really good. And all the data that you're feeding into this helps the algorithm understand and build information about what does work well when you do your targeting. One of the questions that we had in sign up was whether marketing pixels are still relevant in 2026. And it's a really good question because things are changing rapidly. We're seeing a lot of restrictions and changes and platform changes, and that has an impact on the effectiveness of marketing pixels. In this picture, we've got Red Riding Hood, and she's got the wolf there. So the wolf is at the door. Pixels are weakened. They're not as good as they used to be. They used to be really good at targeting. But the level of data that's going into the pixels is restricted now. And there's a few reasons why that is. So firstly, it's about browsers. So the browser that you use to visit websites, so if you're using Safari or Firefox, they aggressively block third-party cookies, so advertising cookies that are used for these type of things. So a lot of that data is now going because these browsers are blocking that level of tracking. So some data is still going through, but it's not giving you the full picture of what's happening. Additionally, people use a lot of ad blockers or tracking blocking on their browser as well. So we're seeing about 30 to 40% of users are now using those platforms to block any tracking as well. So the level of data going into your marketing pixel is much less than it used to be. And the last thing is around the limited window. So in the past, you could set a cookie on a device and it could last for 2 years. Whereas now, platforms are restricting that cookie into an ever smaller window. So it means that the advertisers can't identify that as the same user coming back each time. And so it reduces the effectiveness of those ads as well. So we've got 7-day windows across a lot of platforms, and some of the iOS restrictions now is 24 hours. So if a user comes to your website today, clicks the ad, it's put that person into the pot. If they come back tomorrow, it's reset again. So it's again restricting the level of data that we're seeing there. So with those things in place, it means that they're not effective as they used to be, but they still work to a level. And it's approaching marketing pixels as part of a whole marketing mix that you might be doing. So it's not just a one thing and then you set it up and then leave it on its own. You need to configure it, make sure it's tracking the right things for you. And it's part of a wider approach that you're doing. So all the different things that our tech champions can help you with. If you want to get one-to-one support from us, we can help find the right platforms and the right approach for you. We've got Ollie, who is our strategy tech champion, to talk you through what you're trying to achieve, where your audience might be. And we've got our social media tech champions as well, who can help you with the actual setup of any of this stuff as well. So alongside those things, I'm just going to talk about a more advanced thing. So I know this is a beginner session. We're just talking about marketing pixels in general and how they might work, but there is something called server-side tracking. So at the moment, it's based on a client side. So your device on your browser sends data back to Meta, Pixel, or Google, and it's direct from your device to those platforms. What you can do is use server-side tracking. And you might have seen this if you've ever logged into a Metapixel or the Meta Business Suite, is that something called Conversions API as well. And that is using it's essentially bypassing this direct connection and where things are being blocked, and it's talking server to server directly. So that is more of an advanced thing, but it is available. And there are various levels of complexity that you can do this with. But there's an organization called Stape.io, and they have packages from about $10 a month, and it goes up, depends on the complexity, about what you might want to use server side for to improve the level of data that's flowing into your metapixels and other pixels. So I thought I'd talk about how to get started, but again, every platform is different. So it can be um, wildly, what's the word? Sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not, but we're going to look at some options. But before we jump in, so here's Jack and his beanstalk. So before we plant our seeds and start going straight into it and finding crazy giants at the top of the tree that are very angry and were stealing geese and things like that, what I recommend you do is just have a look at what platforms do you currently use. So that can be social platforms. So are you using um, any of the Meta platforms? Are you using Google Ads? What website platforms are you using? So ask that question of what you're currently using, because it can really help hone in about what you might want to focus on as a starting point with any of this. Second bit is, what do I want people to do? Now, I mentioned earlier on, some organizations, the primary thing, it's ticketing sales and donations, venue hire, volunteer inquiries. It's varied across our sector. So choosing and defining what it is you want people to do and tracking that as an objective is really important. So if you need any help with that, get in touch with me. Okay. And then finally, it's section 5 we're going to get to in this is how do I give people a choice? So at the moment, do we want to track everybody across the website and all their actions? Do we need to? Do we give them a choice about whether they can be tracked or not? And that's where compliance comes in. And we're going to look at that in a second. But I've got another question for you. It's about what platform is your website built on? I've got a lot of craft CMSs, Drupal, yeah, loads of WordPress. I don't know, yeah. Just give that a few more seconds, and then we'll close that poll. Okay, so we'll leave it there. Great. Brilliant. So yeah, we've got 51% on WordPress, 13% on Craft, 4% on Squarespace, Drupal. We've got Shopify and Joomla. So there's a mix across all those, but it's not unexpected in our sector that so many people are on WordPress. So can close that now, please. Okay. Get rid of that. So if you wanted to use pixels, there are a few different methods. Gone the wrong way again. First, here's a pig building a wall because it's about building, setting things up. So there are a few different ways of doing it. So firstly, it's like native integrations. And that's why I've asked that question about what your platform is, because a lot of them have native integrations. And that means that they've talked to these platforms and they've worked out a really good way of linking these two things together if you want to run them. So for example, if you're running Shopify, like we saw there, they have two different sections where you can add an app in, which will link in all of the Google ads and the tracking pixels and things that you might want to run automatically. All you have to do is log in and click a few buttons. And the same goes for Meta as well. So you can log into Meta, you can link it together, and it'll do the pixel stuff. It will do the conversions API stuff, and it'll also link all your products in as well. So the Shopify integration is really good. Whereas other platforms, sometimes you have to do a few either manual elements or you have to look at the other options. So again, I can help you explore those if you need to. So the other option is using something called Google Tag Manager, which is a way for putting a block of script on your website and you manage everything through Tag Manager. So you can do all the configuration there. There are loads of guides for this stuff, so don't worry about that. I can help you through them. And the final one is about a manual setup. So if you have a developer in-house or you want to get really, really, really specific about certain things, you can actually add code to the page templates of your website. I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you really have to. I would look at the other two options first. So with that in mind, I just wanted to talk through a couple of the steps of if you were going to approach a metapixel. So I'm not sure if how many of you use this, but Meta has something called the Meta Business Suite. And that's a way for you to consolidate all of your assets. And an asset could be your ad account, your page, your Instagram profile. All those things can be combined together into your Meta Business Suite. And it's a great way to consolidate everything and then look after the access to any of those things. So you might have different people working in your team that you want to have different control over different stuff. So it's really good for managing that. And if anybody should leave your organization, you can then remove them from your Meta Business Suite. So I recommend doing that if you don't already have it. Just bring it all together, consolidate it. And again, if you get stuck at any point, give us a shout. We can help. But just to talk through quickly the steps. Now, this interface is notoriously confusing and it always changes. So if you need hand-holding, we do have two wonderful tech champions in our social media team that can help with that. But just to talk through it, in your Meta Business Suite, there is a section about your data sets. So in here, we can create brand new data set, and that's just a place for if all the information about those users to come into one place. So in this case, we're going to create a brand new data set, and we access that from the menu on the left-hand side here. So we can go to all tools on these three lines, and there's a place for event manager, and you should get to this section eventually. But as I say, the interface keeps changing, so it might change. But currently, today, you can go to data sets, and then we can create a new one. And in this case, we're going to create one for the web, and then we're going to give it a name. And you'll see here that it does mention that stuff around conversions API. Now, depending on the platform you're using, it can be free. Otherwise, there's a cost. So you have to be careful about which platform you're choosing and why. But we can look at that when you go through the different steps as well. So I recommend just turning that off for a start if you're going through these. Then we create our data set. And then the next page is going to ask you what your platform is. So that question we asked earlier on, about what is it your website is built on? If you choose the options here, it will then guide you through it. So it will say, do this, do that, next step, and then we can get it installed for you. So if we were to choose WordPress, which 51% of you said you were using, it would then take you to the next step and it would guide you through what that means. And you'll see here there's options to set up with a partner integration. And it's usually a case of you will have a plugin on that you'll need to add onto your Metapix website, or if you have something like Tag Manager, you can set this up. Now, all of this is all dependent on what your website works like, what access you have as a user. So there's no generic step-by-step guide that will work for everybody. So do get in touch with us if you need help with any of that. Once you've got it installed and it's running on your website, you'll have access to something like this. So your pixel ID will be sending data into a pot of information about your users. And you can see here that we've got different interactions. We've got over this date range that we're looking at here, we've got different page views, people have subscribed to different things, and then people have watched videos. So these events are anything that can be set up and tracked in that way. We can use this data to build audiences. So again, we're in the Metapixel interface here, and we can click audiences, and we can create audiences based on the information that we're seeing in our pixel. So we can choose the website events, and then we can say, I want to create an audience pool of people that have purchased. And then we're going to use that to target new audiences, or we're going to retarget those people. So all that data can go in to your data set, and we can use it in the advertising. And that's the core reason why you would use a marketing pixel in 2026, is that if you are advertising and have core objectives that you want to achieve, that's where the marketing pixel works. So if you're not doing any advertising, you might not want to run any marketing pixels because it's just feeding in data into that. You might want to run normal pixels for for analytics and things like that, but not specifically for if you're not doing advertising. And here we have our wonderful Katie Fowle and Nicola Barrett, our social media tech champions. They are really nice, and they'll help you through this. So once you've got the data in, they can help you set up brilliant campaigns using that data to target your audiences and make the most of these platforms. So before we jump on to the last section, just wanted to talk about a really, really important thing, and that is the importance of consent. Okay, so I asked that question earlier on, is how are we giving people a choice? And that's where this comes in. So when we go to a website, we might see pop-ups for different things when we first load it, and it'll talk about cookies. And I want to ask you a question about how you feel about cookies. So when you go to a website yourself, why do you accept cookies? Is it to get rid of the pop-up? Is it to get more from the website owner? I don't mind being tracked, or other? And you can choose. I think I've set this to multiple answers, so it can be all of them if you want. Okay, so we'll leave it there. Brilliant, thank you. So 72% of you on the call said to get rid of the pop-up. I didn't even read it. I'm the same. I'm just like, go away. Just let me get to the content. And 19% say I don't mind being tracked. 16% to get more from the web. I like to get more from the website owner. And that's something we can close that now, Adam. That's something that we see is that if you're aware of this now about how you potentially are tracked online, you might, when you go to a website and you go, oh, I'm really interested in looking at this thing, and you might forget about that website. But when I accept cookies from people from websites I like, I hopefully will be retargeted by them. I want them to show me more stuff because it's really contextual. It's really good. I want to see the adverts from them. Some that I don't care about, I just want to get rid of. But there's some that I really do want to. But the reason why you should be asking for consent before they're tracked is that there are actual rules around this stuff. There are two. So the first one, which you've probably heard of, is the General Data Protection Regulation, so GDPR. And that, from the Information Commissioner's Office, they've defined that you should explicitly ask for consent before setting any tracking on a user. So before you set those cookies, we should be able to accept or refuse and be able to easily withdraw consent as well. When it comes to, and that's all about the user, when there's another one called the Privacy and Electronic Communications Regulation, PECR, and that is all about the device. So GDPR is all about the user and their data, and PECR is all about the device itself. So the same things apply. You should be able to give the device a choice about what it is as they're moving through the website, whether that device is tracked as well. So these are real core considerations that you should think about before you do anything with these marketing pixels. And if we go back to the British Museum, this is what happens when I first visit the British Museum the very first time. I get this consent pop-up, and it asks me if I want to allow all cookies, I want to manage the cookies, or reject all the cookies. And you notice I've ran the metapixel helper here, and there are no cookies. The pixel isn't loading. Once I accept cookies or accept the marketing cookies, it will then load the pixel data and then send data to Meta. If I opted out of it, it shouldn't be doing that. So that's a real compliant way of doing it, and it gives the user a choice. If you're unsure about your own website, you can use different. There's a few different of these tools. We've got this one from Cookie Yes. It's a cookie checker, so you can put your URL in of your website, and it will do a quick check of your site and see if you've got any cookies running, and then if you are compliant in that way. And again, depending on your technical infrastructure, so depending on the type of systems you're using, so you might have a ticketing system which runs on your website, but within like an iframe or something like that. So it's looking through into the website. So it's more complex to set up tracking and compliance, that kind of stuff. Do get in touch so we can help you install these things and choose the right one. There are various cookie consent management tools which will allow you to do what you need to before you're using any metapixels. But it's really, really important to give users a choice. So you shouldn't just be tracking people just for the sake of it. It's whether you are actually using this data to inform your marketing. This is the number one thing, really. So we've gone through all those. So this is recorded. You'll get a link to it so you can watch this back at any time. We are here to help you. But we've covered all of these areas. So what is the tracking? Hopefully you've come away with a bit more understanding of that. Some examples of how that works. Why is it useful? How to get started, and the importance of consent. So before we move over to the Q&A, we've got some upcoming webinars. So more webinars for you. Firstly, in May, we've got how to choose the right e-commerce path for you with Catherine Brown. And then we've got a live Q&A session. So a very, very different one where it's just questions. You come along, ask your questions, and Dean and somebody else, who else is it? And Hannah are going to be answering your questions in June. So please do come with that, along to that. It's a different format. If you want to get in touch with us, we've got our website. We're on LinkedIn. Please follow us on there and all the other places you see. And a final question for you. So you've come along. It's been free. It's been brilliant. Please do fill out our survey. It's really, really important for us to understand. It allows you to share your opinions, your suggestions and needs. You can really shape the future webinars that we run. If this is a format that you like, let us know. If it's something that you want us to change, let us know, because whatever you say is going to directly feed into the future webinars that we run, and it can improve the learning experience for yourselves. It'll also make our coordinator, Mike, really happy, because you see, is he smiling here? He's like the Mona Lisa of this picture. I'm not sure if he's smiling or not, but hey, we'll get to the Q&A now and hopefully answer some of your questions. If we don't get to them, I will add them into the article that goes alongside the video. Hi, Adam.
Great. Hi, James. How's it going?
Yeah.
Great webinar. Really good stuff. I'm just going to jump straight into it. I've got a few questions, so might as well get through as many as possible. Rebecca asks, works for a theatre. How do we deal with visiting companies getting data from our pixel? We found it very complicated.
Yes, so it can be quite complicated. And I've helped a few different theatres with that specific issue, because they usually send the code in various different formats. But what you're able to do, especially if you're using Google Tag Manager, this helps build templates for this kind of stuff, is that you can, excuse me, so I need to cough. You can have a template that you can upload into Tag Manager. which will help these things out and be really specific about what products are being bought. Because with the theatre, you don't want to be tracking purchases for everything that's sold through the theatre. You want to only track the purchases for the things that the visiting company is selling. So if it's a certain show, you can specify the ID of the show to only load the purchase for that, as well as like the what's on page as well. So you can be really targeted with the pixel that you have. But get in touch, Rebecca, and then we can help you set up and implement that as a process for you. So then you can manage it in-house. It's one of those things where some organizations are sending it out to their developers and it's costing hundreds of pounds a time. And that's something that you can bring in-house by putting a structured process in place to manage it.
Great stuff. Um, Lizzie asks, can you integrate non-meta, e.g. TikTok, onto Meta Business?
Can you what, sorry?
Integrate non-meta, e.g. TikTok, onto Meta Business.
No, so Meta Business is purely Meta products. So they have their own like business profile set up within TikTok, and that's where you'd manage the pixels for TikTok. And if you're running things on like LinkedIn and stuff like that, or you've got a Pinterest pixel or a Snapchat pixel, they all have their own platforms within them. And you would set up your pixel within the advertising section, usually the advertising section of those different platforms.
Cool. Holly at the David Carr House asks, do the cookies windows affect new and returning users on Google Analytics? And is there a point recording these analytics?
So with Google Analytics, because that's an advertising cookie, it's set at sorry, because it's an analytics cookie, it's set at as a first party cookie. So there's a difference between first party, which is your website, versus third party. So if you're on your website and it's your domain name, and this is where the analytics is tracking against, is a first party cookie against that. If it's sending data to Meta, which is like facebook.com, it's a third party platform, and that's what's being blocked the most. Whereas with analytics, it's a 2-year window of a cookie that will last if they're on the same device. If they use a different device, depending if they're logged into Google or not, there's a few different parameters, but they won't be tracked as well. But things are changing with cookies over time. There's going to be less of them, so that Google Analytics is preparing for a future without cookies to look at consent and how people that it does know again about, and then it's modeling data of the people that it doesn't know about, and it's trying to give you a figure in the end. So it's moving that way, but Google keeps pushing back cookies from they were supposed to remove them, third-party cookies from Google Chrome, but they're still keeping it because it's so valuable for them for their advertising.
Makes sense. Good transition to possibly the last question. From Rebecca, is cookie opt-out more prevalent in any specific demographic? And if so, might this affect reaching particular audiences in the future?
Really interesting. I've not seen it. I've not seen a specific demographic. It's usually down to preference, but the thing is, if it's people opting out, we don't know who they are. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look at see if there's some sector stats about that, but I've not seen anything specifically about certain demographics anyway.
We do have one time for one quick one then, if you'd like. From Shauna, this might be a silly question, but does Google Analytics already capture this info for Google Pixels so that we can shape our ads from it?
So it's capturing a lot of the data from an analytics point of view. You can turn on something called Google Signals, which then uses the advertising network. So it extends it out and then passes more advertising elements to it. So there is a clear line in from analytics side, which is less advertising driven versus the advertising pixels, which are sending data then to Google Ads. You can link analytics to Google Ads and it will pass the data between the two. So it all depends on your setup essentially.
Perfect, thank you. I'll finish on sort of a question and then like a plug for ourselves. Nazanin asks, as far as I understand, you just offer your services to England-based organisations. Scottish Ensemble is Glasgow-based. Can we get any one-to-one sessions? If not, are there any suggestions? And what I would suggest is check out our website. We've got a large knowledge hub of other webinars and articles, information on there. We can't help you directly that way, but we do have a good directory of information on there as well.
Yeah, there's loads of stuff on there. And you can always come to our webinars for free as well, our future ones. Great. Thank you, everybody.
Perfect.
Wonderful to see you all today. And thanks for being so active in the chat. You can watch this back and please do get in
Yeah.
touch. We're here for you.
And there's a couple of other questions, but they'll be answered as we mentioned. They follow up email as well.
Yeah. Brilliant. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks.